So today I wanted to look at what I consider the most important Superman book that's been made, and I think it's one that everybody should own who loves comics. Yes, it's listed as a graphic novel for young adults, but it's a story I think that's even more important for adults to read, and especially when you read the back matter as well, it makes so much sense. It's written completely from the heart by Lun Yang, who did, was it American Chinese? He did one about basketball as well, and he's written quite a bit of stuff for DC. Uh, Most recently, he did the Monkey King one, which was a really good series, which they should bring back. And he's just a really great writer. He's a writer with a lot of heart and a lot of depth to his comics. He manages to make something special even with a superhero comic, and that's what he's done here. The art is provided by Guruhairu, and the art is beautiful. So, a bit of backstory on the book. It's basically taken the premise of what was the foundation of a radio serial in the 1940s, in 1946, I think it was, which again was Superman Smashes the Klan, where Superman um, basically takes down the Ku Klux Klan. And it's, I understand why Lu Yang did the story, because he said in the back it's something that parallels his life. It's a family, a Chinese family who moved to Metropolis, and they've moved from Chinatown to Metropolis, and basically it shows the hardships of trying to integrate into normal, in brackets, America, um, and the raw racism what they encounter, the stereotypes that people have about different races. And I think this is an especially important book for today's generation and for everybody at the moment, because of the rise that we've seen in the past few years, in the past, what, 6, 7 years, if not more, of the right wing rhetoric and the increase in racism, casual racism, where people use anybody who's different to them as a scapegoat for the world's problems. So immigrants get blamed with all the problems of the world. The whole, in the UK, there's the knuckle draggers who always just blindly bleat like sheep, no more boats and that lot. And it's so annoying. I mean, if you've not gathered from my website, from my channel, I'm woke woke. I mean, I'm trans, um, so I'm part of the rainbow family. Hey, but I, I love other cultures. I just love a multicultural society. I think each country is richer for it when they embrace other cultures into their country. I mean, some of my best experiences have been embraced by people from other cultures, being embraced into what they knew as a kid, like their comfort food and that lot. There's so much you can get from other people, but that's me doing a very long-winded intro to this book, not even turned the page yet. So, like I said, the premise for this was that it was based on um, an old radio serial, and this is one of the rare instances when I say that it is a sense like you do need to read the the afterwards notes afterwards, because it really fleshes it out and gives you a much richer understanding of why the book was created. It's a fascinating read at the back, and he's such a knowledgeable guy as well. He's quickly becoming one of my favourite comic creators. So, as I said, this family moved to America, to Metropolis, but it opens with Superman fighting this right wing villain. And as you can see, it's set in 1946, so he's got the black crest. What I love about this is what makes it so good. Um, Superman is at this time of when Superman was around, he didn't fly. He just ran really fast and he leapt. So he didn't have his a lot of his powers hadn't come to the forefront by now. And this is what it also confronts as well. So basically saying that Superman, to fit in, diluted his powers, and that's why it's a very clever retrofit. That's why it's saying back in the 40s, you never saw him flying that lot because he wanted to just blend in with people. He just wanted people to view him as a human who's just stronger and faster than normal. So this is the family moving in. She's a fantastic character. She reminds me of the character from To Kill a Mockingbird, where you see the whole story through her eyes. And she's just wonderful. She's got a very dicky stomach, so she's always got motion sickness, as you can see here. And that's part of the running gag all the way through it. So you've got Lois Lane and Clark here. And Clark's just freaking out because he keeps getting visions of aliens because he doesn't realize about his alien heritage fully yet. Um, so there's all these. So it's basically looking at the Chinese family feeling like aliens in a strange land, and also the mirror image of Clark feeling that way as well. And so her brother fits in a bit better because he's got a bubbly personality, he's a people person, and he's great at baseball. And this puts one of the um, like one of the other guys in the teams knows how to joint. And again, he just drops a casual racial slur. And to say it's a young adult book, they don't hold any punches back, which I think is fantastic about how painful racism is. I found this really hard to read, and I'm, apart from being trans, I still have white privilege, so it's not something I encounter. But I have a lot of dear friends who do encounter this even today, and this just shows you how casually people just throw slurs at other people just to bring them down. When I mean, it's just a skin color. It's stupid. It is stupid. But it turns out his uncle is like the grand wizard of the local Ku Klux Klan chapter, and he forces um, the the young protagonist to join him and set an example. And as you can see, Clark is still having visions. And so this is when the story really kicks into gear, when you see the evil and yet cowardly lot that the KKK is. You know, they hide behind masks. They use mob mentality, and he tries to force. So he tries to force his nephew, the one who basically shouted abuse at the young boy, to throw a bomb, but he misses because he realizes he did use racial slurs, but he did it out of anger, which again is not a thing that he should do. But he's not got hatred for people like his uncle have, but he's conflicted because he's feeling pressure from his uncles. But what's a great contrast as well. So these guys come onto the scene to see what's going on, and it sounds like he's the sheriff, the lieutenant of the area, police inspector, whatever you call it. I don't know. I'm tired. And he's got um, the children's dad. He's got casual racism. He thinks Asians won't be treated the same way as a black person will in America. It's minorities fighting against minorities. And he's a brilliant character. He's got so much patience, but he could retort back, but he just says, "You'll need us. You'll need us." And it's just wonderful. And what I love about this character as well, the girl, the main character, the main voice of the story, when she gets flustered, she just goes like bullet points of words instead of getting the sentences out. And because she's Chinese, people automatically think, "Oh, it's because she can't speak English," but it's not. It's because she gets flustered. And again, that's another. My daughter gets anxiety, and I can see that in her when she can't. Uh, Basically, her thoughts are just coming too fast in the head, and it does some really cool flashbacks to Clark as a young boy and how his powers manifested and the abuse that he got from it, people calling him a Satanist and so on. But it's just there's like three plot strands going on. You've got the origin of Clark, you've got Clark not fitting in, you've got the struggle that the young boy's got with his uncle being the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, and then you've got this family basically dealing with racial abuse. Oh, you got 4 points, then you got the sheriff or whatever he is dealing with hate, and a lot of his people who work under him resented him just because he's black. And so that's the main plot points, and it carries on like this, and it builds up to a crescendo in the second act. So you get more and more. Clark thinks he's losing his mind because he keeps seeing these visions of these aliens. It never really elaborates on why he sees them like this initially. I think it's because it was thrust on him that he was different, and so he thinks he's got to look like a monster and he's where he's come from. Um, and so it by going back onto his childhood, it shows that he had people who could see, who didn't listen to people calling him weird and different and stuff, and he had support from the local sheriff and people like that. So you've got like this parallel storyline, like this parallel timeline as well. So you've got Clark's backstory, then you've got this family dealing with the constitutes, and I like how they have it. Her mum's speech in red because she's speaking in Mandarin or Chinese because she feels more comfortable just speaking in a native tongue, and her husband always says, "No, come on, you got to speak English. You got to speak English," and it's just great how that's so. Don't some comics would use like this have them speaking in Chinese and then have the translation, but that's the much easier way to do it. The arts as well is really really nice. It's got this curious mix of manga inspired art, but with like the period style of 1940s comics as well. Now, so the young protagonist, his mum has no idea that his uncle, her brother, is the head of the local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan, and they plan this reward for the basically just to apprehend who the leaders are of the Ku Klux Klan, to bring them to justice. And this is where, like I said, we reach crescendo. They are now planning to blow up the youth, the it's like a youth host. It's like a youth club, but it's run by a priest, a minister, and a rabbi. And so he basically he hears of his uncle's plan, and he basically hints that they need to leave now, and that moves on to a different plot point. Because has everybody left? We won't elaborate on that because you need to read the book. And so again, they then do something else that escalates, and there's a big climatic scene in that chapter, and then we move on to the final act. And again, the artwork is just wonderful. And so it reaches a crescendo, and of course, it's Superman. I'm not giving anything away by saying that justice wins out, but what I will say is, I I devoured this. It was one of those books where I had to keep reading it, so I read it on the bus yesterday when I was going to my local comic shop. Finished reading the book when I was coming back on the bus from a local comic shop, and it's one of those where it leaves you feeling with this nice warm feeling because yes, justice has been done, but it also leaves you quite emotional because you think, why is why does this exist? Why does this book shouldn't have to exist? Why is there racism? It's horrible. It's horrible. On a personal note, my brother married a Jewish girl, so his children by definition are Jewish, and they've experienced racism. And I also have friends who are Asian, and in the States that you call Chinese and Japanese, etc., Asian. In the UK, it mostly refers to like people from Pakistan or India, etc. And I've seen them experience racism just for the color of the skin. And again, I know people who are like Lebanese and Palestinian who have experienced this firsthand. And like I said, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. And this really brings it home. I would say this is the perfect gift to get somebody who votes reform or somebody who voted MAGA, somebody who's ultra right wing, give them this book, they cannot argue it. It breaks it down in a really wonderful, easy way. And like I said, the back matter is just the cherry on the cake. It just really cements Gene's vision for the book. And it's what I love about DC, and this is, yeah, I am beating on Marvel for this because DC have evergreens. This, I reckon you could get like at least 150 stories from DC, what they could keep in print in per, forever, perpetuity, whatever it's called. But they could keep them all in print, and they do with a lot of books. And I think this is one of them. It's had a number of formats now, and there's a reason why they managed to do stories that are classics. I mean, another good Superman one that everybody should have is Superman for All Seasons. But like I said, this one, for the message it conveys and the way it conveys it, is the more important one. But Marvel, what people are saying, oh, but Marvel's got them. You've got a Daredevil one, you've got an X-Men one, you've got Secret Wars, which is based on the toy line. I mean, come on. But I'm not going to leave the video just with bashing on Marvel. But it's my very long-winded way to say that this is another one that has joined the stable of evergreen books from DC, and it is a modern classic for a reason. Even if you're not the biggest Superman fan, you'll find something in this book which you'll enjoy. And like I said, I love that the main character is not Superman. The focus is on this young girl, and her voice in the book is brilliant. She's hilarious, and this is no spoilers, but she develops a crush on Jimmy Olsen and this is what I love. That's like the Superman lore. Jimmy Olsen, who's basically like the Archie of DC, he always gets the girls falling for him, and that doesn't change in this book. This was a joy to read. It's got perfect art, beautiful colouring, and it's just such a fully formed story in 3 acts. And yeah, I absolutely adored it. I've kind of like given a few plot points away, but not a lot. There's a lot more in this story which you need to read for yourself. Um, and it's a reasonably priced book. It's only $16.99, and you get a lot of pages for that. You get 237 pages. So yeah, because my highest recommendation, like I said, for me personally, I think this is the most important Superman book you can get for the message that it conveys without it being preachy. This is just who Superman is. People say, oh, Captain America deals with politics and all that, but Superman, if you think about it, is the most political comic you can read, basically because the right the right has politicized people who show compassion by calling them woke, people who are looking for justice by calling them woke. They treat it like it's an evil thing to have compassion for people who who are your neighbors, who are different to you. And that's why I think Superman is the most political comic, because that's what he embraces. He embraces helping the underdog, those less fortunate than you. And that's why he is Superman. That's who we should aspire to be like. So there we go. On that kind preach note, I will leave it. But this gets 10 out of 10. It's a wonderful book and a great book to give to somebody who wants to get into comics, especially somebody who's a teenager. But like I said, I'm so many years old, and I got a lot from it. It's not just a book for young people. I'd say that's like the starting point. But as an adult, or as a really, really, really old adult like me, I got loads from it, and it's just a wonderful classic book with gorgeous art and just a pleasure to read. Okay, bye.